Howdy there, everyone. How's it going? Welcome to my backyard review. So, I'm going to talk about the Kershaw Iridium kind of by itself. I did a review where I compared it against the Covalent, and I don't think I really did each knife justice. I went back and looked at that, and it kind of came across to me like I had, I didn't disagree with anything that I said, but I don't think I did these knives justice in that they're really, really good knives. And in their field, they're just great. And yeah, so I'm going to try and, before I do some criticism, which I can't help but do, I really do want to sing the praises of this knife. And first off is that this knife just hits way the heck above its weight class. It is just, I mean, I would say buttery smooth, but you would have to talk about like organic butter from cows, hand fed in the Swiss Alps on organic grass. And I'm just, it's just like, whoa, Lord, that is just like a smooth, clean blade. The access lock works excellent. Yes, I know that Kershaw calls it something other than an access lock, but to me it's an access lock, so that's what it's going to get called. Um, but yeah, and now look at this knife. I mean, no, this is not titanium, it's aluminum, but who cares? I mean, aluminum is a great material, and it is very well executed. Boy, I'm going to stutter a lot in this, and I'm just going to keep pushing through. I like the color offset of the center spacer. The pocket clip is recessed and flat-headed screws. The D2 steel is just completely acceptable, especially for the price of this knife. Like, I really think that this is a knife that if they had done $100 price tag with maybe a slightly better steel, maybe there would have been zero objections. And if they had done just this knife, for $90 exactly as it is, people would have paid for it but just complained a little bit. So yeah, this is a fantastic knife. And I compared it to the Kershaw Covalent, which I think is much less of a user but way more ergonomic, and I really like this one too. It does not have quite the amazing smoothness of the Iridium. I mean, this knife just, like, it, like, I feel nothing there. Like, I feel no turning of the ball bearings inside, nothing. It's just like, wow, yeah, that is, it's just nice. So yeah, there's that. The price is amazing. The blade shape is outstanding. Um, yeah, it's an excellent knife. I'll just go through some very useful size comparisons so that you can kind of, maybe you have some of these knives, and you'll be able to tell the size difference going on here. So here is a Boker Stingray and a, let's see, what should I put that up against? Did I really? Hold on, I'm going to pause this one moment. Okay, and we are going to compare it to another very relevant knife, the Stack Gear Pocket Katana. And as you can tell, it's smaller than the Boker and bigger than the Stack Gear. Okay, so let's get some more knives in here to compare with. And how about a Cold Steel? Cold Steel Spartan. It's smaller than the Cold Steel Spartan. And how about the Microtech UTX 70 CA. Yeah, it's bigger than a Microtech UTX 70 CA. Yep, there you can see. So, you know, a good comparison going on there. Let's see. Up here, how about up against another Cold Steel, the Cold Steel Espada. Once again, you can see it's not as large as the Cold Steel Espada. And I will throw in another Kershaw here to compare it to the Kershaw Launch 4 Auto. And as you can see, it's bigger than the Launch 4 Auto. Isn't that amazing? And let's see, last comparison I will do just so you can get a relevant size idea. Oh, got the Kissing Cranes Stiletto made in Germany, and the Sedona gift shop knife that my grandmother gave me 15 years ago. Yeah, okay, so there's some real size ideas so you can kind of have the idea of its size. Okay, so while this knife really does kill it in looks and features, it does have a few things that I am going to nitpick, and you know, it's fair to say, hey, this isn't perfect, and it's not to say you shouldn't buy this knife, because you should just buy this knife based on just that action right there. But there are a few things going on. One is the blade tip is not really, okay, there we go. The blade tip is not perfectly ground. It kind of actually hooks forward a little bit. I have a suspicion the first time I sharpen this that there'll be a little bit of a gap there, and I'm going to have to bring the tip back. That's not a huge issue whatsoever. The blade shape itself is really great. I'm sure it's very thin behind the edge. Another criticism is that it could have used some rounding in the blade gap and on the corners. It's not terrible, especially if this is a knife that you might carry a lot and then just take out once or twice a day and use. You'll never find hot spots from it. But if you fidget with it a lot, which you'll want to do because it's such a fidgetable knife, you might find that it you know, you will get a little bit hot spotting going on kind of right here where it hits your hand, and even the lock bar itself, I think I've kind of whittled my finger down just a little bit. But you know, okay, so those are some minor complaints. The pocket clip pushes out just the slightest bit, kind of less ergonomic, not a huge deal. And then the only other thing is, okay, so I've got some freshies for this review. I recorded it once and I was like, oh man, I lost my cuts to show where this knife is cutting me. And then I was fidgeting with it again and it cut me up some more. So I've got 5 cuts here from where, when I close this knife, if I get my palm around it too much, I really don't want to cut myself for this review. So I'm going to do it on the outside. But as the blade comes out, it slides against the skin. So if the blade's going in and it catches my skin, it cuts my hand. And that's not fantastic. And it really has to do with another great quality, maybe too good a quality with this knife, which is that it has an amazing blade to handle ratio. I had it up against, I don't have it with me right now, but I was comparing it to my SOG Aegis, which has the same blade handle as this, and it was a knife, the same, almost the same blade length. It's wider. And I was comparing, you know what, I'm going to pause it, I'm going to go grab it and bring it into the video. Okay, here's the SOG Aegis, and I always considered this to be a knife that had a great blade length to handle ratio. And you can see that they're actually, the blade edges are almost the same exact length. The Iridium is a little bit more narrow, but this has a great blade length to handle ratio, and if you put the handles up against one another, like there's, I mean, the Iridium like is even shorter. So maybe they needed to put a little bit for my hands. Maybe everybody else doesn't have the problem with cutting themselves that I do, but maybe they needed to make the Iridium a little bit longer, or make the blade a little bit shorter, because it is pretty darn easy to cut yourself. I'm just borrowing this knife from my dad for the review, but if it were my knife, I would probably go to the belt sander and just sheep's foot the tip of this blade down by maybe like just an eighth of an inch, personally, which would still be a great, really cool blade shape, kind of like the way the blade tip of the Pacific salts do it. That being said, if you have this knife and if it's not causing cutting your hand up or anything, I don't think that's a huge issue. And I think if I had it for a while, I would just get used to like not cutting myself. But yeah, I have done it 4 or 5 times, right? And the Iridium, because it has this deep loop and the blade is a little bit more recessed in the handle, it doesn't do that. It's not even a slight threat. If I just kind of even wrap my hand, let me try and get this really in there, you could just see that the blade really clears the skin of my palm. And if I'm doing it with the Iridium, boy, it's just super easy to cut yourself. Like right there, you can see it's touching my skin. So yeah, great, just dead sexy knife. The Kershaw Iridium, they knocked it out of the ballpark. It is such a good looking knife. The weight is excellent. I don't know the statistic on it right now. It's like not even like heavier than another super lightweight that I love, which is the Kershaw. The SOG Aegis, but it's it's got full metal liners. I would be amazed how much lighter it would be if they were skeletonized. I imagine that they're pretty thin. Well, actually, if I'm looking in the in here, it doesn't even look that thin. I don't know how they make this knife so light with full liners, but they do. And it's a great knife. It's just, it's butter, hand churned butter from cows fed in the Swiss Alps on organic grass. It is just, yeah, it's like, whew, wow, yeah, just amazing. I have had a few other access locks. I'm not going to call it whatever Kershaw calls it. It's an access lock. I don't care if it's a proprietary term. I might say lock bar now and then, but never one with ball bearings. And even the covalent, it kind of has, I wouldn't say it's gritty, but it's just a little bit rubby. And it also, I'm sure it has like the identical bearings, and it is also smooth, but I can feel the bearings in it a little bit. And it's not bad in the slightest, but whatever they do with this Iridium, I mean, wow, yeah. I keep saying Iridium. I think it's Iridium. So, great. I just did this whole video calling it the Iridium when I know it's the Iridium. But, yeah, I don't think I'm going to re-record it. I'm really happy with this take. Okay, so I hope everybody has a great day. I hope this review kind of did this knife a little bit more justice than the comparison. And if you're thinking about getting this knife, don't think about it, just grab it, and hopefully you don't have the palm issue that I've had. You could always get in with a bench stone and kind of push down the tip if you wanted to. I'm a knife modifier, so I just have a habit of doing that. But I think if you're just someone who wants a really lovely, nice looking knife to carry on a daily, and you only use it once or twice a day, you don't have to use it all the time, you're probably going to beat up your hand a little bit fidgeting with it. You'll get a little bit, so you know, like you'll have a week at least where you just you get up to 1,000 just like this, and you won't regret it. You'll watch an entire movie and you'll have probably done this 100 times. But it's such a good knife. It's so good looking. You're really not going to regret getting this knife. And with even with what I've pointed out, it's worth picking up. Okay, everybody, have a great day. Hope that was a useful and helpful video. Bye.